Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. If you enjoy this one, please smash that thumbs up button. And in this video we are going to be talking about all the books I read in October. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. So in September I read 10 books. If you haven't already seen that video, it is the one before this posted on my channel. And in October I read 8 books, so not as well, but I still read quite a bit. So before I tell you what books I read in October, I just wanted to apologise and say about the video being late. I like to post these videos on the 1st of the month, and we are now on the 6th of November, so I do apologise. I've had a little bit of trouble filming and a little bit of trouble editing. I managed to film a clip and then I couldn't edit it. It was filmed portrait instead of landscape, and then on my editing app I couldn't rotate it, and then the babies haven't been going down for naps or, you know, staying up late, so I haven't had a chance to film. So this is my only opportunity, so one take only. But let's talk about our first book of October, and that was How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie. So this book put me on a bit of a roller coaster. The first like 2-3 chapters I thought I was going to DNF it. However, when I got into the middle of it and I understood what the book was about, I found myself actually enjoying it, and I feel like the storyline was really fun and well told, but it was just bits of it dragged for me, and I just found myself like falling asleep in the book really. And I was really gutted because I just love the idea of this book. So the main character, Grace, her father abandons her and she thinks, how can I get revenge? And she comes up with the best idea that she thinks, and that is to kill every member of his side of the family. And it's just so bizarre and so strange, because in this day in life you would never do that if your father abandoned you. So it was just fun to read. But bits that dragged for me was every single time we got introduced to a new family member, she would put on a disguise and pretend to be someone else to get information about them and, you know, information about the family, because obviously she's not been a part of it, she doesn't know much. And for one of the characters in the book, which was her cousin, we were at a research centre and there was like a whole paragraph about frogs because that's what he was researching. And to me it was just like, that was irrelevant. We didn't need a whole chapter about that. And I would be interested to see if anyone else has read this book and see what they think. But yeah, I did think it was really good, so I gave it 4 stars. But yeah, like I said, I think if it were told just slightly different, I probably would have given it a high rating. And actually thinking back on it, I might have even given it 3.5 stars, just because obviously I struggled to get into it and there was bits where I thought I might DNF it. But I'm going to stick with my rating of 4 stars. So I do recommend this one if you haven't read it, but just keep that in mind. The second book I read was by Casey McQuiston, and it was The Pairing. Now, I saw this one all over my TikTok FYP when the works were having their £1 book sale and everyone was picking this up, so that is why I personally picked it up. Otherwise I would have never bought it. But this book was so good. However, I only gave it 3.5 stars. So this book is a food and wine French tour where the 2 main characters, Theo and Kit, they're best friends and lovers, but they fell out just before going on this tour. Instead of getting a refund, they keep the tickets and they can use them on a future tour. So they're both not talking and they end up on the same food and wine tour, although there was like 8, 9, whatever to choose from. So it's kind of like a coincidence that they run back into each other. However, it being a French food and wine tour, there is a lot of French speaking in it, which you would kind of expect. But for me, that really put the book down. If this was set in a different country, for example America or United Kingdom, where there was no foreign language being spoken, 5 stars, 100% down. I loved Theo, I loved Kit, I loved the idea of them going to different locations, being like tourists, finding the local food and stuff like that. But when we was in France, other characters they met, for example, when they would go to a cafe or a restaurant, they would be speaking French, and Kit lives in France himself, so he is also speaking quite a bit of French as well. So for me, I gave it 3.5 stars, but like I said, this could have been a 5 stars. I am curious to read another book by Casey McQuiston that isn't set in a foreign country. I have heard good things about the Red, White and Blue, I think that's what it's called. So yeah, can't wait to read another one of his books, but this one I gave 3.5 stars. The third book I read was You Are Here by David Nichols. Now, I picked this up for my A to Z alphabet challenge, and I wasn't expecting anything from this book. However, this book really shocked me, and since reading it, I have seen it in so many people's book vlogs and people recommending it when they're going to shops and stuff. So I am shocked that I didn't hear anything about it sooner. But this book, again, put me on a roller coaster, and that seems to be a common theme of what I've chose in October, funny enough. But this book, first of all, took me a little while to get into, and then when I was like 2/3 halfway through, I could not put this book down. I was like 5 stars, 5 stars, ranting, raving, telling my sister about it, couldn't put it down. But then the ending put it back down for me, and the reason for that is because I pictured this perfect ending of this book and it wasn't what happened, and to me in my head I still can't put that perfect ending down. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the way this book ended, but I just kind of pictured that that was going to happen, and I'm so disappointed that it didn't, because the ending that did happen was just like, seriously, we could have had a little bit of a better turnout. Do you know what I mean? I gave this one 4 stars, and if you haven't read it, I do highly recommend it. There is a group of friends who are going on a hike, and 2 of them are ended up left by themselves, and they fall in love, and they're hiking across the country, and it's just really sweet. They like slowly get to know each other. You would never think these 2 characters would have got together. So yeah, it's a fun read, and I highly recommend it. And there is nothing wrong with the ending, but it just really wanted that perfect ending. So yeah, 4 stars. Again, would have given this one 5 stars, which is a common theme. Okay, so the next book I actually read on my Kindle. I'm not going to show you the front of it because it's got the book that I'm currently reading on it, and that was The Housemaid's Secret. Now, I read the first book to this series in September, and I really enjoyed it, so I wanted to continue the series, so I read The Housemaid's Secret. Now, I gave this book 4 stars because I did enjoy it. I love Millie's character. I love sort of the role she plays, you know, like a murderous housekeeper. It's fun. However, I was feeling there was a bit missing from book 1 to book 2. And for me personally, when books are in a series, I love them to connect simultaneously, and I don't like there to be like a big gap in between. And for me, that's what I thought with this book, which is kind of gutting because I've heard so many people talk about The Housemaid. And don't get me wrong, I did really enjoy it, hence why I gave it 4 stars. But if you haven't read The Housemaid series, I highly recommend it. I've got 1 more left to read, and I am definitely going to go to cinema and watch the film when it comes out, because Freida McFadden is such a good author, and her books are very highly rated in my opinion. So yeah, this one is good. The whole Housemaid series is Millie is hired, and in the house there's always an abusive partner, abusive someone, or some dodgy situations happening, and Millie helps them out basically. And this book was no exception. It was really good. A little context: Millie is hired by a rich family, and the wife pretends to be being abused, and Millie is like, I'm not letting this woman be abused, so she ends up killing him. But it turns out she doesn't actually kill him because she was shooting blanks. Now, this book, I couldn't put it down. It was really fast paced. I was speeding through it. It didn't take me long to read, and I definitely didn't expect that ending, so highly recommend. I gave that one 4 stars. The next one I also read on my Kindle, and that was The Housemaid's Wedding, which is a short novella in between book 2 and 3. I think it was like 80 pages or something like that, and it was just really fun to give a little bit more personality to Millie. And in the book she gets married, but it's not a traditional wedding. They go to a, like, oh, what was it called? you know, like a office council place to get married, and everything seems to be going wrong for her, which is kind of funny, like when you read it. So her mum doesn't show up and she doesn't get her something blue, and then because her mum doesn't show up, she doesn't get officiated. And when you hear that her mum's coming, from what you've learned about her mum in previous books, you're kind of shocked, and you kind of think that the third book to the series is going to take a twist, but no, she doesn't show up. And I just thought this was a really fun, quick paced read. It was a nice palette cleanser for me, it being like a short 80-page read, and I gave this one 4.5 stars for that reason. And I literally cannot wait to read book 3. I think I might read it next. So that was the 2 I read on my Kindle, which were both the Housemaid series related. The next book I read was I Wish You Would by Eva de la Reyes. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm not going to say much about this book. I gave this one 3.5 stars. It's a YA romance, and it was very predictable. What you think is going to happen in the book does happen, and it was a nice quick read for me. It didn't take me long to finish. It is a shorter book as well, but it was just so predictable. That's why I didn't give it higher. But if you're just looking for a quick, you know, romance that isn't anything special, very predictable cleanser, I highly recommend this one. But just a little short summary: there's a group of teenagers celebrating their last year of high school, and they write lion letters, which are letters saying what they're brave about, what they want to achieve for the year. And the main 2 characters end up getting the letters, and Ethan and Natalia, it just ruins the night, and other things happen. People find the missing letters, and yeah, it's really fun read. But I just gave it 3.5 stars because it was very predictable for me, and I've never read a YA romance that was this predictable. But yeah, if you're looking for a quick read, recommend, but other than that, don't recommend. I only picked this one up because it was £1 in the works and the cover was intriguing to me. But yeah, so I have 2 books left, and the next one is The Intruder by Frida McFadden. Oh my god, hands down one of the best books I've read this year. If you haven't read this one, please run and go and pick it up. Now, this one is a sprayed edition from the works. Honestly guys, Frida McFadden is one of my favourite authors, so maybe I'm biased, but I'm not the only one that has given this one 5 stars. There's quite a few people that I've seen on TikTok ranting and raving about it, and honestly this book was so good. Now, I don't want to share too much about it, because when I give a 5-star rating to a book, I am going to tell you to go and get it, and I don't want to give out spoilers. But I will say Frida McFadden's books always have an unexpected ending, and this one is no exception. When you think something's going to happen, it doesn't. So try and think differently when reading these books. So try and picture what you think is going to happen, but not what you initially think. I don't know how to explain it, but this book is basically Casey is in a storm and she goes outside to find a girl. She's covered in blood, and Casey thinks this girl is out to kill her. However, she later realises that that's not the case. Casey herself has been abused, and her mum was a hoarder and been brought up in a house, and Casey actually kills her mum in this, and it's so good. I really recommend it. And honestly, this book, I flew through it, and I got like that much to the end of it, and I was like, I don't want to read anymore because I don't want to finish it, because it was that good. I don't know if anyone has had that feeling with a book before, but please run, go buy this book. It is also on Kindle Unlimited if you have that as well. But yes, run. 5 stars. I will not shut up about this book until the year ends, or until I find another 5-star book. And then finally, our last book I read in October was Road Trip with a Vampire. Now, this book was really good. We have Zelda, who is struggling with her magic, and she needs to go on a road trip to practice her magic in a location where she won't be recognised, because she's set a perfect little life out. She owns her own yoga studio, she has a nice little apartment, and if she does magic there, people will spot her because she's been keeping her magic hidden ever since moving there. And then we have a vampire who has amnesia. His name is Peter, and he was sent to Zelda from a friend, and he believes that Zelda can help him get his memory back. They both come up with an idea to go on a road trip to places that were written in Peter's notebook, because they were clearly significant in some sort of way for him to write them down. And on the road trip they end up falling in love, and it was really cute. However, there is a definite twist towards the end of the book, because Peter is who he says he is, but it's funny the reason why he ended up with Zelda. So I recommend this one, and I wanted to read this one for Halloween because, you know, witches and vampires, and it was definitely giving Halloween vibes, but I was just looking for something a little bit more spooky for the Halloween season, which was a little bit gutting. But I did give this one 4 stars. And the reason why I didn't give it a higher ranking is because at the end of the book, Zelda buys Peter a workshop which he can do up himself. He loves working with his hands, and that kind of is like where the book ends. And I would have just loved like another chapter of them being together, working it out in the town that Zelda lives at. For example, Peter working on the workshop. I know it probably isn't relevant to people who read this book and maybe didn't want that. I would have personally enjoyed just another chapter or 2 of them living together, because the whole time we're on this road trip, which I know is the name of the book, but we've learned so much about their characters, we've watched them fall in love, and I would have just loved to see them living together in that sense. But Peter is just such a gentleman. He fixes the roof in a storm and really looks after her, and it's just so sweet, a cute little romance. So that is all the books I read in October. Again, I do apologise for the video being late, and if you have heard the children, Ivy is literally sat right here and Hunter has now just woken up, and whenever I record I do try and edit to them out, but I don't know how successful I'm going to be this time around when Ivy's sitting right there. But yeah, if you're going to take one book from this episode, I highly recommend The Intruder. But all of the books were actually really good this month, and yeah, these 2 actually, all of them really were just missing something to make them 5 stars. But yeah, this was really fun to record for me because I loved these books so much, and I didn't have ones that were like, no, I'm not recommending. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please smash that thumbs up button and subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will record another one of these in November for what I read in November. So please let me know in the comments some book recommendations, and I'm also going to start the Shout at Me series, which I'm going to record a video about as well.